Day 14 in Syria, I think. It's starting to all run together. You don't want to miss this one because we're going to take a walk through the destruction that was the town of Kobani.
This is the Hot Zone. Engaging with the news in a whole new way, international war correspondent Chuck Holton brings insight into areas of crisis and lets you help those affected.
Hey folks, Chuck Holton here. Thanks for watching Hot Zone. We're still in Syria, obviously, as you can see here. I am in the town named Kobani in northern Syria, right along the Turkish border. And I'm walking through the rubble, as you can see here, the ruins of what was part of the city. And when ISIS was done with the siege of Kobani back in 2015, the whole town pretty much looked like this. Now, I have full disclosure, this is part of the town that has not been rebuilt. And according to some people, they're going to leave this part of the town looking just like this because it's going to be kind of a monument to the huge battles that took place here during a 5-month siege where ISIS was trying to take this town. As it turned out, they did not successfully take Kobani. It was successfully defended by the Kurdish forces that were here, and with help of Peshmerga Kurds and Syrian Kurds and everybody all together, the YPG, the PKK, the YPJ, everybody. And they eventually repelled the attacks by ISIS, but as you can see, this place is trashed, absolutely wrecked. This was some of the fiercest fighting of the entire conflict with ISIS between here and Raqqa also. Now the difference is the destruction you see here was caused mostly by shelling from ISIS. This is, destruction that was caused by artillery. You'll see here in a minute they had a lot of homemade bombs and artillery, that sort of thing. And so look at this truck right here is just smashed. That's nice. And there's a car over there. This road that I'm walking on right now was actually cleared of the rubble so that cars could drive through here. So you see that road behind me is actually pretty open, but it wasn't that way after the fighting was over. So you can see there's so much dust here in Syria. Every one of our group has got this crud that we're coughing up now. So Kobani was a town of about 45,000 people before the war. And most of those people fled into Turkey when ISIS was laying siege to the city. There's a cute little girl over here I want to show you that lives in the rubble with her family. Hi, sweetie. Hi there. Hi. Oh, look. You see yourself? That's you. Isn't she cute? It's amazing to think how much trauma these kids must have been through. I mean, she's, maybe 4 years old, so she probably doesn't remember the conflict, but she's grown up in this rubble, in this war zone. And obviously, she's never been anywhere else, I'm sure, so probably doesn't know that there are places in the world that don't look like this. If you think about that, that's pretty sobering. But it's, nevertheless, like I say, pretty well destroyed here. And bullet holes still in everything. The artillery and the homemade bombs and everything that were getting lobbed in here just 100 times a day really did their work on the city. Kobani, like I said, had about 45,000 people before the war. Now there's less than half of that have returned after the war. And it's fairly safe and peaceful right now. But in 2019, the Kurds actually agreed to let Syrian regime forces, who are their enemy, and the Russians come into Kobani because they were more afraid that the Turks were about to invade Kobani, and that's still a fear that they have. So Again, those three teams that I've talked about before, the Syrian regime forces with the Russians, the Turks, and the Free Syrian Army, which is the remnants of ISIS that joined the Turkish cause. And then the, good, I got a steamroller coming down here. And then the Kurdish forces, which are backed by the Americans. And as long as all three of those are, in here, there's this kind of uneasy peace, but it is uneasy. And the Turks, Erdogan specifically, has been pushing real hard to take more territory inside northern Syria in order to move those refugees that he's got back into this area, although they didn't originally come from this area. So the people that originally made up this area were, let's see, you had Kurds, Armenians, a lot of Armenians actually lived here, and you had, some Arabs, right? Excuse me. So between those three, they actually lived here in peace until this war started, and then, man, what a mess. I'm going to walk in this building so we can kind of take a look at some more of this incredible destruction. I mean, it's like a movie set in here for sure. Kobani is not the real name of this town. The real name of Kobani is Ain al-Arab. Ain means spring, so it's Arab spring. And, oh wow, I haven't been in here before. This is interesting. So Arab Spring is the name of the actual name of the town. Why do they call it Kobani? Well, back in the early 1900s, 1910, 11, there was a German railway company that was contracted by the Ottoman Empire to create a railroad all the way from Baghdad to Berlin, if you can believe that. And it was going to come right through here. Apparently the German company had a big logistical support base here in Kobani, and everybody saw that word company, German railway company everywhere, and they just started calling it Kobani, which is a kind of a bastardization of the word company. Isn't that interesting? Now, from where I'm standing right here, I can see the Turkish border, which is about 500 yards in front of me this way. You probably are not going to be able to see it with this camera. I'll have to zoom in on it a little bit. But right over my shoulder there is a Turkish flag, giant Turkish flag, that's flying on the other side of a concrete barrier fence that they built just a couple years ago. And they're apparently pretty strong about defending that fence and not letting people cross it illegally. They've actually just shot people who tried to cross. Now, I want to show you this building I'm about to go into, because I'm in one building now, and there's about a 2-foot gap between it and the building I want to cross into that I have to jump across. So check this out. So there's that really wrecked, destroyed building there that I'm trying to get into. And I'm on this building. There's some more kids down there. Hi. And here's a little gap that looks down on more rubble. So I'm going to jump across this gap and get into this building now. There are still lots of fighting positions set up here inside these buildings. So these sandbags here were set up. You can see where a machine gun was emplaced right here, right there. Dot, 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 dot. Firing over there. Look at this incredible destruction. This is like something you would have imagined from the siege of Leningrad or something. But I guess, all of these are the same. Can you imagine being in this building when it was getting shot up like this? I mean, there's bullet holes everywhere, big holes in the building. They were getting just rocked with, RPGs and grenades and bombs and artillery and everything. It must have just been hellish to be in here. Look, there's a big hole down there. I gotta watch where I'm stepping because a lot of people have been using this place as a toilet. And I'm not even sure how stable this building is, because there's you can see up here in the roof, there's kind of a sag in that concrete right there. I guess if it hasn't fallen down yet, it probably won't today. But so I'm going to go up these stairs now. Look at this. Is this not insane? The stairway goes up. I mean, I don't know what kind of bomb came through the roof here, but it was serious. No doubt. So make it up here. Try to be real careful. This concrete moves a little bit, swings. That's not good. So, and who knows how many bodies are buried in all this rubble, even still. I mean, some of these buildings have just been pancaked down on top of whoever was inside. You can see down there, just pancaked. I mean, the roof, that thick concrete roof is just crunched down on top. So anybody that was in there is probably still in there. Don't have to spend much on burial. So, yeah, it's just ridiculous. Look at this rebar in the roof here. So the bomb just came right through here like that. Gotta watch my head, because all this rebar, it gets you right in the face if you're not careful. But you can hear that machinery over there. They're still working on this, cleaning up parts of the city. There's construction everywhere as they try to rebuild. I'm gonna go look and see what kind of, oh, that's a generator. They have these crazy generators over here that look like they're from the 1920s or something. That's Jonathan back there, one of our group. Hey, Jonathan. Yeah, these generators that they have everywhere, they're like a dynamo setup. So you have to crank and crank and crank and crank, and then it kicks over and it actually goes the other direction. So once it catches, it'll yank that crank out of your hand and break your arm if you're not careful. It's the dumbest thing ever. Like, who thought that up? You have to crank on this thing, and then you got to let go of it and run away before the handle comes flying off and kills somebody. It's a death trap. But I guess they have a different sense of what's safe over here, as you can imagine. Looking at this, look at this stairway to nowhere here. I wonder if I could actually get up. Oh. Get up the stairway here. Look at the outside of the building there. So there was more to this building that fell down like this. They used to sit out here and went clunk and just broke right off and fell down. Look at that. Holy cow. Look at all the bullet holes in that thing. Unbelievable. And then they're rebuilding over on this side. There's a lot of rubble and dirt and stuff out there, but it's crazy. So anyway, so that is a tour through the rubble of Kobani. Like I said, most of the city is now back open. There's kids going to school. I'm really kind of pleasantly surprised at Kobani. It's not as regressive as I expected. You know, in Raqqa, you still see a lot of women with, oh, here's some bullet casings. You still see a lot of women wearing the black abaya, the full face ninja suit kind of thing. Here, I have not seen many women at all wearing that, or even with their heads covered. There are some, but there are a lot of young people here, and they don't seem to be too keen to cover their faces or their heads. They're walking to school, they're going out with their friends. There's a lot of pizza shops open. Oh man, I don't know if I can get through there. Look at that big hole right there. There's a lot of pizza shops open. This used to be a satellite dish. There's not much to it. I was standing next to one of those on my last trip over here that somebody took a pot shot at me and it hit the dish. Hey, Jonathan, will you take this camera so I can jump across here and not kill myself? Thank you. Make sure there's no rebar I'm gonna get in my eye and try to get across this hole here. Oh. Yow. Thank you. Yeah, this is not something you see every day, for sure. So, can you imagine living in a building like this during the fight? A lot of people did. And as we've already seen today, there's still people living in the rubble of this city. So we visited yesterday some orphans who lost their parents in the battle. We did a kids club for them, gave them some goodies thanks to Victor Marks and All Things Possible Ministries. Some lions and lambs. It's amazing how much kids love those little stuffed animals. You know, you got a kid that's been traumatized by war, and you give him just a little stuffed lamb, and oh, he just cuddles that thing. It's got you pinch the little paw on the lamb, and it plays soothing music, and so it's just a surprisingly good idea from Victor Marks and his people. I really appreciate them. If you'd like to support the podcast and come along with me like this on more of my trips, you can go to Chuck Holton at locals.com. You just go to locals.com and search for my name, and you can support the podcast there. I'm going to jump down. You can support the podcast there like $3 a month. Buy me a cup of coffee and support what we're doing. We take that money and we come over places like this and we help people with it. So we don't just make the news, we make the news better. As we leave you today, I just want to show you these gigantic homemade mortars. Those are very large. Those are what, like 120 millimeters maybe? That's big. Those would really do some damage. Over here, there's a tank turret that got blown off a tank. Now, I want you to see this because look at this tank turret here, and look how thick this metal is. Okay? I'm gonna climb over here, take a look at this. You can see where the metal has just been sheared off by a anti-tank round of some sort. Came right through the top of this turret. Undoubtedly, there were people in it at the time. So people died right here in this thing. But it just melted its way through. That's a good 1.5 to 2 inches of hardened armor. Incredible. And yeah, that is just mind-numbing to think about. And right here is the gun from that tank. This is the barrel of the gun. Look how long that is. And it almost looks like they set that up on this trailer where they could direct fire it, but I don't think that's true. I don't think that's the case. There's a tire in there, so there's likely a vehicle buried under here somewhere. There's some more blown up parts of the tank. But you see this, whoa. You see that gun barrel for the tank. Now, look here. This is another homemade bomb. You see the bomb? That thing is still there. It's a that's a propane tank that they use for cooking. And they've made it into a bomb. There's even some explosives still kind of leaking out of that thing right there, I think. Obviously didn't go off, but you see how they fired it from this metal tube that they put together, and it's on some kind of trailer axle, so they could pull it around, and they fire that thing. We've seen these bombs laying around where they didn't go off. Obviously, homemade bombs are not going to be as predictable or consistent as, you know, not homemade bombs. But look at this one. This is also a homemade bomb right here. It's another kind right there. Amazing. A lot of damage. This is why I don't like to play war, because a lot of people, you know, think it's fun to go shoot paintballs at each other, but once you've seen the results of a real war, it just doesn't sound like so much fun anymore. You know what I mean? All right, that's it. A long podcast today, but thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We're still here for another couple days, so stay tuned.
The Hot Zone is produced by Amy Holton and Livefire Media. Copyright 2021.